pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Films I Should Have Talked About Years Ago. And now, let's get on going with something else that I might as well go ahead and talk about, because guess what? It turns out that if you haven't already gotten to know about Halloween 2018, well, that's only because apparently there's going to be a sequel, Halloween Kills, which will be released later this year. And I don't know about you, but it could be another opportunity for a bonus episode, pretty much. But until then, I might as well go ahead and talk about Halloween 2018, since I was in fact just able to go ahead and give it a viewing. The details are very fresh in the mind right now, so without further ado, let's go ahead and talk a bit about it. Instead of what the majority of other Halloween films have been like, for something that happens 40 years after the original, this film canonically actually does take place 40 years into the future, the present day in the year 2018. It's a time where, apparently, the character Michael Myers had been shot and fallen out of a balcony, and then of course ends up being recaptured, wearing all-right prison garb, in the year 2018, 40 years later after the first initial attacks. Of course, if you're already familiar with the original canonical Halloween series as it already had been established, with various actors out there, including Dick Warlock, Donald Pleasence, Jamie Lee Curtis, Nick Castle, and many others pretty much. But the thing is that this film, while it does tend to be a reboot to the franchise, it's more of a reboot sequel, pretty much. Or it could just be the other way around. Who even knows at this point? The point is that it tends to be a sequel to the first Halloween, ignoring all previous installments that had happened in the past 40 years. But the thing is that, well, believe it or not, this film actually did so well in the box office. It had a box office gross of over $250 million, and with a budget of $10 to $15 million, that potentially puts it at least around 20 times the budget that the film itself had earned in 2018 alone. Now that's unbelievable. 20 times the budget the film had managed to gross, just like that. Which is just crazy. I mean, when you really think about it, lots of other box office successes have been all around, pretty much. Big time records have been established. The truth is, though, is that in this particular film, I don't really see as much going forward as what we could possibly have from the original series itself. The original series has had tons of mileage on it, and the character Michael Myers has been through quite a whole lot between 1978 and 2002, up until the point where metal artist Rob Zombie had rebooted the series in 2007, and then with a sequel in 2009, that duology didn't really seem to hold up quite as much, but it still did manage to get some relative success. And then, well, when you think about what's happening here in more recent years, I feel like it's almost about time, considering the fact that we probably should be getting a sequel to the 2018 reboot of Halloween itself. Who knows what Halloween Kills would be like? But hey, let's go talk a little bit more about Halloween 2018 itself. The plot does in fact involve the character Michael Myers, whom once again is played by Nick Castle, just like in the original, wearing the famous Captain Kirk mask, and then of course a large blue jumpsuit, whom was stolen from a mechanic's department. And of course this particular outfit had been used a lot in various other sorts of things out there, mostly rip-offs and the like that have captured the many hearts of many cult followers of all sorts. But it's also gotten itself a lot of criticism based on the types of things that it has as a rip-off. But the thing is, though, here in this particular reboot, is that Halloween 2018 does continue right where it left off. It gives us a 40-year stretch, and Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, returns to give us quite a big step up from the original. But then, of course, there comes the point where eventually Myers breaks out after the prison bus crashes, and then, of course, once fully outfitted and all that good stuff, Myers gets back to killing, just like in the original, and the many sequels that it had. And then, of course, the reboot duology from Rob Zombie. But anyways, The fact is that the big difference here is that, well, first of all, there's no Donald Pleasence. And that's because Pleasence died sometime after the 6th film in the original series. And the truth is that, well, without Donald Pleasence, then, well, how are you able to get a good Dr. Sam Loomis impression with new characters and all that, played by new actors? Well, the truth is here, it's a whole lot different. And reboots can be different in so many different ways, but there's only a certain plethora that you could do properly in order to make sure that it goes well. And if you don't want it to be hated, then, well, again, there are certain things that need to be done. Halloween 2018, though, has a lot of things done. It does rack up on the body count, of course, so much so that Dead Meat has put up a kill count episode some time ago. And we also can't forget this one little twist where the new psychiatrist who steps into the picture grabs a hold of the Captain Kirk mask, puts it on, and then gets killed by Michael right away. Man, that right there was outstanding. But in the end, though, it's pretty much like what had happened in various other Halloween sequels. Michael Myers is trapped down in the basement of Jamie Lee Curtis's new house, which of course doubles as a gigantic armory in the basement. I guess the real question is, would Myers be able to be armed to the teeth? That I don't know for sure. But if that's really the case, if Halloween Kills does show just that, where Michael Myers somehow breaks out of the basement and grabs a bunch of guns out with all sorts of bullets and ammo and all that good stuff, I guess we're bound to have something out there that really does give sequels of all sorts a run for their money. Well, anyways, you know what? Halloween 2018 still is a relatively decent reboot. The fact that it is able to continue the story of all sorts, it gives us a big time span for us to possibly contemplate what we could potentially see on the screen eventually when Halloween Kills debuts later this year. We can't really be able to tell what is able to show up, but when it does happen, we'll find out. But to give this a score, for the fact that it does have some good merits in it, it stays true to its word, it has most of the same actors we've had from the original, and it has a lot of unique ways to keep the source material lit at all times, I'd say I'm going to go on ahead and give it an 8.1 out of 10. And I probably would have gone a bit higher than that, but because of the fact that this film goes as far as to ignore all previous installments pretty much, that seems to be, well, kind of a problem. Because there were so many other things that had happened before the reboot even came out. And sure, it had been rebooted once already, so we don't want to be too biased by that, but again, at least keep in continuity with what the original series had in mind, not just the first one, but also the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, pretty much, as well as H2O and Resurrected. Otherwise, how are we going to get ourselves something very sensical here? Well, anyways, that right there was quite an impressive viewing right there. From the intense action and horror that obviously popped up since the original had shown up, this film was quite a big difference. A big change in pace. Yet it still does remain true to its word. It is in fact the Halloween of all films relating to Halloween. But now is pretty much the time where I go ahead and take a break from this, because there's lots of other things I gotta work on here. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.